Good evening. This is Bill Cooper, and the name of the show is Savannah at Night. And here I am in the studios of WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. And as stated before, the premise of my show is to get people interested in what's going on in the city of Savannah and its surrounding cities. And there's a lot going on in the arts. There's a ton of stuff going on. You've got to familiarize yourself with it and get out and enjoy it, because there's a lot of real talent out there. And tonight, I have as my guest tonight is a real nice guy. You're going to like him if you don't already know him. Please welcome Bendan Townend.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
You're welcome. Okay, that's it. Good night, Bendan. Anyway, Bendan has been doing comedy. I'll let him tell you for how long. A short while, really. I've been doing it 5 years here in Savannah, and he's kind of new to the scene, as we say, but extremely active. He's been in a lot of things, and he puts himself around town and gets himself out there and known. And that's nice to see. You're really taking interest in it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we're actually really lucky right now as far as local comedy. I've only been doing it for a little bit over 2 years now. But it didn't used to be. Right now, I have the opportunity, at minimum of 3 nights a week, get out there, hit up an open mic, some weeks 5 nights a week. And then there'll be a show. Right. And so as far as Savannah comedy scene goes, I think we're kind of in a golden age now where it's really expanding, and I think we're really lucky. I've been to other places, and I've hit up open mics in Columbia and Charleston and Atlanta, and I think we're in a really good place where we have a lot of comedians that support the growth of the community,
Absolutely. There's an interest in it, and everyone seems to get along and help each other. There's no backbiting. Well, nor should there be.
No.
Really. I mean, it's just if you have the guts to get up there, I always said, you should be respected for getting up there. I don't care what kind of set you or anyone does. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. You had the guts to stand up on that stage and to present people, total strangers, something that you wrote yourself. It takes a little courage, and I think you should be encouraged. And and as I've said before too, most people have respected our comedians in the city. Very rarely do you even see a heckler.
Oh yeah, I think that's part of the southern charm of Savannah. Even if people want to be impolite, they don't have they don't tell you so. They save it for later. But yeah, I think we've been lucky that I always say when I'm hosting shows, You may not like the performance, but you got to remember, this is this person's time to shine. They've been looking forward to this all week. This is their 5 minutes to shine. This is what they've been working and grinding for.
And as I say, we're not professionals. We don't do it for a living. And there are some in the group, and some that I see that, with the right break in that, they could go places. I mean that. They could really go places. And who knows if they ever will. But the thing is, you're seeing people with a lot of energy, with a lot of love for entertaining people, and they get up there and do it, and it's just nice. And if you don't like one comedian, wait a minute, there's another one coming up. So, it's really a good thing. As you said, a good scene, incredible scene. Sometimes you have 20 to 25 comedians in one place at one night.
Yeah, like I said, even from the time that I started about 2 years ago, that never happened just 2 years ago. There was about a dozen or so solid. That was the core of the scene, and they would be at just about everything.
Right.
And we got pretty fortunate that I think we've been mentioned enough in local media. People know what we're doing now, and anyone who's ever had an interest. I think that's the other thing. We get everyone from all age groups. We actually attract a lot of different people.
And, that's what makes it strong. If they were all 20-year-olds or all 50-year-olds, it wouldn't be strong. I mean, you need that melding of different age groups. Men, women, any race, it doesn't matter. Any religion, everyone that's interested in comedy finds a welcoming scene here in Savannah.
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate in that. I've like I say, we're a smaller city. When I've been to open mics in Atlanta, on a Wednesday night, there'll be 8 open mics that you can potentially get to in one night.
Right.
Well, Savannah's got 1.
Right. What?
Maybe 2. So I think that, a lot of these people are taking the advantages of what's given to them as time, because you got to sharpen your teeth somewhere, whether they're going to go on to pursue it or whether they're just, that's what they're doing for fun, that's an entirely separate thing, but it's a very conducive community to, it feels good. It feels warm. It feels small, but in the good way.
It's welcoming. And even if it's a small venue with maybe not a big crowd on a particular night, might be a weeknight and it's not a lot of people out, they seem interested and, they give you the courtesy of listening.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I almost like the smaller crowds because it's more of a challenge to get them on your side. You gotta find out what they're thinking, where they are. Do they hate you? Maybe they hate themselves. You got to find how they feel. Well,
they don't hate me, but I'll have them hate me after 5 minutes. I promise.
Yeah, I was listening to Dana Gould, and he said he had 2 bits of advice for anyone in comedy, and one was to let the audience know that you like them. Which was a weird thing.
No, that's important.
And
it really is.
And the other one is to put yourself in the position to hire yourself. So in other words, if they're going to be produce things and then hire yourself as the star, in a very literal sense,
and that's true. They have to like you, or if they dislike you, like I don't know. I use for an example Don Rickles.
Yeah,
he wasn't warm and fuzzy as they said.
Right,
but they liked him because I don't know. I mean, he was some sort of a schmuck that pulled it off.
Right, and Don Rickles was definitely one that made you happy that someone else could be mad for you.
Yeah, he was hitting everyone, and there was everyone was a target. Shotgun, everyone gets hit, and I guess that's what made it work.
Yeah, he was actually famously quoted as saying he had no idea why what he did worked, which I think is the funniest thing in the world because he did it so well. But to ask the man, and he says, "I don't know why I'm popular."
Once again, he had the face to go with it too. It's like, he had a comical face. If he said nothing and stood there and made faces, he'd have had people laughing.
Right. Some people get lucky like that, or they have a weird voice, like your Gilbert Gottfrieds and stuff like that. You can't help but pay attention to the guy.
That's what I'm saying. But he made that work. But I mean, I found that truly they have to like you. I have a secret. I'm going to tell you, and I never tell anyone how to do comedy. People have asked me for tips, and I will tell them. I'll give them, this is what I think you should try, or not. But I will never volunteer it. But I found out early on, once again, being decades older than the comedians that I work with, that how do I communicate with younger people? That I don't know the video games they're playing.
Sure.
I don't know the movies they're watching, the music they're listening to. I have no idea. How do I communicate? And there was 2 things. One was food. Everyone eats. So I kind of started making fun of new eating habits.
Sure.
And then that connected. At least, you have the avenue. Once you find something you can connect with. And the other one was about my age. I couldn't hide it, so I'm not going to lie about it. So I made fun of it. And if you make fun of yourself, the crowd's okay with that.
Yes.
People don't want to. I've had many people say, "Please don't mention me if I come to your show. Don't point me out. Don't mention me." They get a little scared of that, and I get that. I understand that, because then everyone in the room is looking at them if you call them out on something, even if it's a joke. So they're very uncomfortable doing that. But if I'm making fun of me, it kind of puts the room at ease. And the third thing is, I've used my wife in many a joke and never made her the butt of the joke. It was always me.
How
I
could
was
you?
the doofus. No, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, I was the doofus, and that works. And I think if I tried it the other way around, it would. Some guys can get away with it. I don't think I could have, because it wouldn't even sound like it possibly could happen, because it would be insincere.
I just think it's easier for an audience to accept that men are just not as good at things as women. I don't know why, but when we're in larger audiences, we seem to accept that guys just aren't as good at stuff like that. But I mean, I know your wife. You couldn't. I couldn't imagine you making her the butt of a joke and being successful at it. She's such a delight.
If it was funny, I mean, I just couldn't do it. That's.
Oh, you couldn't bring yourself to.
No, I couldn't. I mean, there's no. Why would I do that? I wouldn't do that to someone I didn't like. Why would I do it to someone I love?
Right.
So
and
anyway, so I have my standards, I guess. Everyone has standards, and some people have fewer than others. But we see that. And it doesn't matter. And once again, I'm not judgmental. Any way you get your laugh, if it works for you and you're happy with it, good for you.
Right. And, self-deprecation was definitely something I did at the start because I think it's easy. Who do I know better than myself? And so I know my flaws, so it's easy for me to make fun of my flaws. But what I've started doing recently, because, let's be honest, a lot of the comedians are even younger than me. I'm a little older than them. I don't want to lose touch with things, but we all get into our patterns of what we like to do, what we like to watch, what we like to listen to. So every week this year, I've started either reading something or watching something or listening to something that I wouldn't normally do. I just pick something at random and I know I find it because every single week I see something, I go, oh, I'd never watch that. And I go, that's it. That's the thing. What's that?
On TV?
Television on times.
Computer.
Computers. If it's radio, if it's an artist I would never normally listen to, or a book that I wouldn't pick up, or a magazine even that I wouldn't pick up.
Expanding your mind, young man.
It's honestly, it's generated more material for me in that amount of time than anything else. Is taking in something that I wouldn't normally like, and what's even crazier is I found out that I like more things than I think I do.
Isn't it? Once again, we put ourselves in boxes, don't we? Because you know why? It's comfortable. You go through life, I figured this works for me. I don't want to try that. I know this works. Why should I try that? And you put yourself in a box. And although I'm kind of not that kind of person, I do like to try, and I have tried different things and new things and that. Yet I'll still kind of go back to my own way once it's incorporated in you. My father said years ago, the hardest thing to change is an older person when they get used to doing something. It's hard for them to change their ways or their mind.
Well, I think it's basically friction. It's effort. You're expelling effort to do these new things.
Right.
But I think I'm like you in that I'm a little older than the average guy who decides, hey, I'm going to start doing stand-up comedy. But I just sat down and I said to myself, well, yeah, life is work. Life is doing new things, and why would I want to? I'm going to die eventually. I've accepted this as a truth. It's going to happen.
Not me.
Oh, yeah. You're a lucky one. You're a real lucky one.
Myth.
Well, the point is, I said to myself, if not now, when? I kept on putting it off. I'd been putting it off for 3 or 4 or 5 years saying, someday I'm going to go to an open mic. Someday I'm going to do 5 minutes, to the point where I got, I just broke. I got to a point where I said, there's no point in not doing it anymore. I'm doing myself a disservice by not just getting out there and doing something, even if it fails.
Exactly. I was talked into it. I always kind of thought I'd want to, but never really had a push or a desire.
Mm-hmm.
And I acted with Melanie in a play.
Okay.
At Bay Street Theater.
Yeah.
And, I was always cutting up in the back room, always, just coming out with things and making people laugh. So she said, oh, Bill, you got to come to my open mic. I says, why? She said, you'd be good. I said, I've never done it. Oh, no, you'd be good. Well, and I went, and I wasn't good. The first night, it was terrible. Second night was maybe a little better, but and as I've said this before, I didn't care. I was at the age, I was 69 years old then. I was at the age where if I fall on my face, I'm the first one to laugh. I don't care. All I said was, after the second time, I'll figure this out. And that was when I come up with that thing. Food, make fun of yourself, and say nice things about your wife.
Yeah.
And that has been a formula, basically, for me.
And it works really well. No, Melanie Goldie is definitely a bit of a hub in Savannah of comedy,
absolutely,
of theater.
Poetry.
Just this weekend, I ran into someone and they said, oh, you probably know him. He does comedy. And she looked at me. She goes, oh, you look familiar. She's like, who do I know? She has red hair. And I said, oh, it's Melanie Goldie. And she goes, yeah, that's who it is. And I said, yeah, if you know anyone doing Savannah comedy or theater, it's probably Melanie Goldie.
Oh, yeah. She is super active in the city, folks. And once again, to get back to the premise, this show is called Savannah at Night. And to introduce people to some of the great performers we have in this city. We had we had a show last week, and it was about community theater, and some people turn their nose up at it, and man, you don't know what you're talking about. Some community theater, and I don't mean just here in Savannah, where I used to live in Massachusetts, is excellent, is excellent. You have some. Not everyone can play Major League Baseball, but doesn't mean they're bad baseball players.
Right.
And not everyone can be in Broadway, or maybe they don't even want to be there because they, too much travel and time and everything. But doesn't mean they're not great actors or singers in that. And we have a ton of them in this city.
Oh, absolutely. Savannah is brimming with a lot of very active, very talented people. I recently I went to Savannah State for a production of Jesus Christ Superstar. That was amazing,
wasn't it?
It was so good. It was so good that I was at a point I was like, I'm proud of myself for having done this. I wasn't giving them enough credit. I was like, this is clearly all their work, but I'm so proud I was smart enough to come and see this.
Yeah, and I knew a lot of the cast members there. I had acted with them. Actually.
Yeah.
And it was just, boy, and they were terrific. Cecilia, I'm going to start naming them, but Mark Rand, Cecilia, Jin Hee, they just unbelievable.
Yeah,
the young man that played Jesus Christ, I can't think of his name, but wow, what a job he did, huh?
My friend Dan Finn played Judas, who I think was the only person in the whole play that had more songs than Jesus.
Wow.
And he could belt them out. I didn't know that previously about him. I didn't know that previously about him. He was just my friend. We're running buddies, and we would go running together.
That?
I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a heck of a performance. It was outstanding.
Yeah, I really didn't enjoy it.
That was, once again, David Poole. They put on 4 shows a year, ladies and gentlemen. 4 shows a year. You are gypping yourself severely if you don't catch them. Or at least one of them. You got to go. And they're putting one on in December. They're putting on the Underpants. Was it the Underpants? No. They did the, I'm sorry. It'll come to me. It'll come to me eventually. So you bring your drum set with you till I think of it. Okay, I have a little announcement here. If you enjoy our programming on WRUU-LP, please support the station with a donation. As an individual, you can give any amount, become a basic station member, or become a serious fan of the station. To check out membership rates and to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Again, to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUU. Another quick announcement here. Sister Sound Showcase is a fundraiser for WRUU featuring C.C. Witt, Sarah Poole, Stace, and Josephine Johnson in a wonderful night of music at the House of Strut at 17 West 41st Street here in Savannah, Georgia. Hear all of this great music for only a $10 donation. Don't miss the evening of music and merriment. This is Friday, coming up Friday 20th, 2017, from 8 to 11 p.m. Okay, here we are. As again, the name of the show is Savannah at Night. I'm Bill Cooper here at WRUU, and my guest is Bendan Townend, a fellow comedian. Go ahead, Brendan, fire away.
Well, I just wanted to remark that you said Sarah Poole was on that show that benefits the station. She's a great local singer-songwriter. I was so happy to hear that because I was like, I recognize that name. You get that kind of jolt when you know these people who are doing these local great acts and things, right. And I like all that kind of stuff. Can we get into what do you want to get into, Bill? I want to.
Well, first of all, let's trace your rise to fame.
Oh,
you said you were doing comedy 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, are you from Savannah? Did you move here to Savannah? How'd you get?
So I'm like you. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I'm from the side of the state that Boston doesn't tend to notice. I'm from the Berkshires. I'm far west. I'm almost in.
No, that's New York.
Yeah, well, exactly. I heard this multiple times from anyone who is east of Worcester. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it may as well be. Oh, yeah, may as well be. We got Springfield, but yeah, my dad worked in Pittsfield, and I went to community college there. Did a little art stuff in community college, as well as theater in high school and all that kind of stuff. So I was always interested in the arts. It always kept me busy. And I applied to 2 other colleges. I couldn't tell you the name of the other one because I got accepted by SCAD first, and that's what mattered, because when you do community college for 2 extra years, it ends up feeling like the 13th and 14th grade, so you're ready to get as far away from home as possible. So I did that, and I remember the week before I moved, my friend, he said, "Oh, Savannah, is it humid down there?" And I said, "I have no idea." I didn't. I
Did
had.
you take history and geography?
Apparently that was a big blind spot of mine. I remember moving down
school?
here the very first school in general. I think my problem with school was I found out I was too smart for my own good, and that made me try less hard. I felt like I was a solid B, even when I was just kind of joking around with people. That's the problem. I feel like my education would have gone much better.
We're not mature enough to be in it when they push us in it.
That's a good.
We should start when we're 10 or 11 or 12 years old, and by then, we're mature enough to start learning stuff. Before that, it's a total waste of time. You get now you have school and preschool and kindergarten and pre-kindergarten and pre-pre. I mean, the day the baby's born, aren't they into some kind of exercise class or something?
I think I was just I think I was just unfortunately encouraged by people who were I thought they were smarter than me, and then I caught one of them one time trying to cheat off my test, and I said, "Oh, maybe I'm smarter than I think I am," and that was an unfortunate
It's
thing.
the glasses. They make people look smart who have no business looking.
Well,
smart.
you got to understand, this was middle school, so I was about the same weight, but about 2 feet shorter, so I was a pudgy little kid.
Did you have glasses?
They found out I had bad vision in 8th grade, and I said, "Mom, I can't do glasses. I'm already a fat kid. You can't make me do glasses. I'm already unpopular. I'm already unpopular." So I forced her to get me contacts, and I wore those begrudgingly for 3 years because it's a whole rigmarole before I really decided. And what's wrong with glasses? They look good.
A lot of people have worn them.
I think they're really popular now. You'll find people wearing them that don't even need them.
It could catch on.
Oh yeah, I think it does. But I came to Savannah College of Art and Design originally to study film and television, is what the department was called at the time.
Why didn't I run into you there?
What's that?
Why didn't I run into you there? I've done 45 SCAD films.
Because I've been out of SCAD for so long.
How long?
I graduated in 2005.
Okay. Oh,
I think our paths just didn't cross.
Yeah.
It was really close.
All right, 13. Hold on. 17. 2004 is the first one I did there.
Oh wow! See, that was the only thing I did in 2005 was actually the spring quarter, and it was my senior project, which we did as a group thing. We the whole
that was about
department.
the time the girl in the wedding dress came out. Do you remember that?
No.
The girl in the wedding dress. I was in that, and it was. I'm not saying because of me, because it wasn't. I mean, I had a part in it. It was a good part, but not the major part. It was so well written so that they had that on that reel in the hallway when you walked into SCAD, Hamilton Hall. When you walked in there, for over a decade, they kept playing that thing up there. That's how good it was.
I feel like then maybe I'd seen your face, but
You probably did.
Well,
I have a light blue suit and a white cowboy hat.
That sounds incredibly familiar.
Yeah,
but I didn't. But that's the thing. I didn't graduate with the video and film.
My first SCAD film, but
was
that was back then. So I'm saying there was a chance we could have run into it.
It was. Well, the problem was I found out that I wasn't good at giving people direction. I wasn't particularly good at writing. I wasn't particularly good at lighting things, and if I didn't want to be a grip for the rest of my life, maybe I should try another thing. Tried the sound design for 1 quarter. Got on the dean's list for the first time in my life, and I don't remember particularly being a grueling process. I was having fun with it, and I said, you know what? That's the sign. When you're doing something and it feels effortless and you're having fun and people are praising you for it, then maybe do that.
I like that. That's the sign.
So many signs.
That sign. Am I doing good yet, boss? Am I?
Right, but unfortunately, what feeds my soul now is comedy. But I've received no encouragement, unfortunately. But I'm going to keep doing it until I do.
Yeah, and don't expect it. I mean,
oh no. Well, that's the thing. I always tell people.
Don't expect anything. Just do it because you love it.
Exactly.
If I know you. I mean, you do. You are. I can kid you, but
no
one knows. I've gone out and done a set, and it just bombed. I've done the same set the next night, same set, different place, different people, and they loved it. So you never know what the heck it's going to be about.
I mean, and that's absolutely true. Anyone who's ever said to me, I always wanted to try that. I say, well, come out and try it. Come out and try it. Not only come out and try it and know you're going to do bad because you've never done it before. So you're not supposed to do well. Right. If you do well, it's amazing.
Right.
Also, just tell the audience, hey, this is my first time. They'll give you 40% of the applause just for being up there.
And that Chris Islam has that little gimmick now, too. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't steal from anyone, but I'm going to steal that from him.
I think, he's been
This is
doing...
my first time.
He's been doing it longer than the both of us combined, I
know,
think,
and he's telling people it's his first time. I like that.
I don't think anyone buys it. I don't think anyone buys it, but...
It's a good laugh, though.
Well, and the thing is, I've had nights where I didn't feel like going up and performing, but every time I haven't, I've regretted it, and every time I've forced myself to go out and do it, I've always felt better, even if I did poorly. Even if I bombed, I said to myself, you know what? I learned something.
Yes.
Every single time.
You never learn from your victories. You only learn from your defeats. Believe me, I can never forget things I did wrong. Things I did right, okay, I mean, I'm telling you, that's how you learn. That's how you grow, is by making mistakes.
No, I tell people all the time, and they look at me like I'm crazy, but I love failing at things.
Oh, yeah.
Because
you've mastered it.
Well, I just tell people most of the time I've probably failed at more things than you've ever tried. Just because
that means you're
trying more of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. That's a great attitude.
I mean, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I have plenty of time right now.
That's totally me. I was 60 when I started acting, and 69 when I started comedy.
Yeah.
And I really had that thought in the back of my head. At 60, you're saying, well, I'm not immortal. I always wanted to act, and I don't want to be in a nursing home, have them push me in front of a TV someday, seriously, and looking up at the TV saying, oh, no, this is all I did when I could have done something else.
Right.
That's why I go out and act. That's why I go out and do comedy.
Because if you go out and fail, you have no regrets.
They push me out there now, I'll say, hey, man, I did that.
I did that. Yeah, absolutely.
Say, quiet and eat your oatmeal.
Well, and I think you're a prime example of it, but Alan Rickman didn't decide to be an actor till he's 45 years old. He quit his job teaching middle school English, decided to move out to Hollywood, give it a try. Within 2 years, he was co-starring with Bruce Willis. I mean...
Unbelievable.
It's never too late to do exactly what you want to do.
Right. And as I say, I try to get people to get out and see these shows, and that brings up the point, too, whether it's a play or comedy show or poetry. They're poetry at the Bean now.
Yeah.
And twice a month, Melanie runs it. I don't know which Tuesday, but 2 Tuesdays a month. She runs the poetry there and open mic.
The second and the fourth, I think.
Second and fourth.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just the place is packed. So if you have something you want to contribute or do, even if you don't have a talent that you think you want to be on stage, get out and help them. When they're doing a play, they need an awful lot of work to put that on. They need people to work behind the scenes. They need people to work taking tickets. Anything. It helps them because they're not making money on it. It's small money that they're getting. After they pay for the rights to put something on, there's not much left over. If it's a fundraiser, they get a few bucks out of it. But, I mean, help them out. That's a good thing to do.
Well, I think the best first step to doing any of this kind of stuff is go out and watch other people do it. Go out and get involved in the community. Just sit in the audience. That's participating. A lot of people don't realize that.
Oh, where would we be without an audience?
That's about 50% of every comedian's set is the reactions from the audience, or so they hope.
Right, but where would we be if no one came?
I mean, we wouldn't be there. That's for sure. Being part of the audience.
We go through the trouble of writing this stuff. Wonderful stuff.
No, I've threatened audiences. I'll get up there and I'll say, I'm gonna do great. So hold up your end. You guys got to do your part. I'm bringing my A game. I want to see your A game.
Put the pressure on them. Don't put the pressure on them.
But the pressure is always on me.
You don't have to laugh. I'll sue you. Or you leave this building if you don't, but you don't have to.
Well, I learn a lot more when people don't laugh than when they do. If they laugh, I said exactly that's what I expected, and everything goes as scheduled. But when they don't laugh, I say, what about that? What about that?
Faithful listeners are tired of hearing this. This is how, because of Marianne. This is how I determine when I come up with something new, I'll run it by Marianne, and I won't even say this is a joke. I'll just start saying
sure,
or a bit, right? If she laughs, I keep it. She has a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
If she doesn't laugh and says, that's terrible, I keep it.
No, I
do. But if she goes, it needs some work, she's right.
Yeah.
It needs some work. So, but if she doesn't like it, it's just a different style than her, and it's going to, and usually I'm right. Even if she doesn't like it, it's right. And I'll come back, I'll say, that worked.
Yeah, no, I think every comedian that has a life partner, that person is tortured with the ever being the first audience member to every single joke. And my girlfriend, she's not a laugher. That's not what she is. So I know when I tell her one that she does laugh at, I've got fire in my hands, and I just need to kindle. Yeah, I got some kindling there, and I can roar that up. But unfortunately, that's not a good barometer because she'll just kind of shrug her shoulders and I'll say, okay, well, I'll work on it. But. Yeah. It's a good first audience
three
member.
reactions I'll get, and out of those three, the one that one in the middle where needs some help, she's right.
And you know what? The best reaction I've ever gotten from an audience member was 2 middle fingers in the air, and I said, "Gosh, he's listening." That's the most amazing thing to me. He was not only was he listening,
once.
He was only once. That was the crazy thing. Not only that, not only was he listening so closely, and he was so there with me that when I turned everything sideways on him, he was so angry that he was tricked. And so it came right out, and I said, gosh, that means I'm doing a really good job. If I can get ire from people, I know I'm doing something right.
Station ID again, WRUULP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with Global Soul. I'm Bill Cooper. Here with a chest cold tonight and suffering through, but we'll get there. And the name of the show is Savannah at Night, where we talk about the arts, what's going on in the city. Tonight I have a good guy, an all-around good guy, Bendan Townend, and he's a fellow comedian. And I'll tell you, Brendan, what I do appreciate. I have asked for, I host Foxy Loxy once a month, third Friday every month, and that's a very popular show.
It is.
I mean, it's standing room only. It's really a good show, popular show. And I just found that it's so much easier when you take some of the weight off me and go up there and help host it. I as I said before, I appreciate that. Yeah. That really helps out. And anyway, but that's another thing. Hosting is a different type of comedy, isn't it?
Oh, it's an entirely different sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard people tell me one thing or the other. They love it or hate it, and I think that really is the divider. I mean, I'm just happy that you offered it up to me because, like you said, Foxy Loxy it's a great venue, and I think honestly, as far as an open mic goes, it's probably the most diverse audience that you're going to get in Savannah.
You have students, you have neighbors, you have tourists.
Absolutely. You get every sort of person from all walks of life. So you can really test the jokes on, because if you've been telling them to the same 20-somethings day in and day out, maybe they're still laughing, but then you got to find if you can't get the 55-year-old in the back who's a curmudgeon to go along with you on the ride.
And sometimes you have the meetup groups there.
Oh, yeah.
From the dating, not really dating, just a place to go out. They want to go out together. They meet up, and I've had those groups come in there too.
And you're absolutely right that it is standing room only. There's not an empty seat in that house, in that giant, beautiful courtyard they have back there, to the point where all the comedians just end up hanging around in the alleyway waiting for their 5 minutes. And
they have to move out there to let people sit.
I got to tell you, that is honestly the most fun I have hosting a show in Savannah, is that, because that audience is not only are they diverse, they're warm and welcoming. They're really happy to be there.
Once again, the Foxy Loxy welcomes us. The people that work there do. The people that go to it do. The people that show up. The people that do comedy. It is just a nice conglomeration of good people.
Well, I can't walk in there anymore without my barista asking me every time, is there comedy tonight? I can't do it anymore because he's come to associate me so much with it. And, I love doing it.
It's the glasses.
It is.
It's like Clark Kent. Nobody knew he was Superman just because he wore glasses.
That was the crazy, and he slicked back his hair a little bit, and that was it.
Well, I mean, nobody knew he was Superman because of a pair of glasses. Greatest disguise of any of them.
I always wonder. I think his life must be very complicated to be the strongest man in the world and then still be expected to, pass up the shaker of salt to someone without killing them. I think it's one of those things that must have been really tough for him.
Just squeezing it into a diamond.
And why not? I could go on for comic books. That was my first love as a kid. I was in a remedial reading class.
Too. But honest to God, the difference between when I was a kid,
at
age 13, that you wouldn't be caught dead with a comic book.
Right.
That was the difference. Today, I mean, adults are going to the Comic Cons and again, I always have to preface it. I don't care. Do what you want to do. That's your thing. But it was not acceptable when I was a kid to have a bicycle. After like age 14, you wouldn't be caught dead on a bike. You would rather walk and hitchhike than
Right.
be caught dead on a bicycle.
Right, but now it's an incredibly popular mode of
Oh, yeah,
transportation.
and
It's
it is.
growing
I
and
mean,
growing
it's
and
in
growing.
the- right.
Yeah,
The world's
absolutely.
changed. I get it. I understand it. I don't have to go back to the cave drawings of my graduation from high school to understand it. But
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't feel like I was a very popular kid in school, and so I always tried to
You were
remain under
fat
the
and
radar.
you had glasses.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. It wasn't that easy. And then instead of going out for sports, I decided to go out for drama. A very unpopular decision at the time. Turns out, gets you just as many girls as being on the football team.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
the other boys don't go out for it, and you always go out with who you associate with.
Well, that and probably 70+% of the cast was always female, so I was surrounded by girls, and I said, I made the right decision here. Those other guys, they're in the sweaty locker rooms, and no, that's not where I want to be.
When I was single, a friend of mine says, I said, hey, where'd you go last night, Vinny? Didn't see you. He said, your kid went to the girls' softball game. Your girls' softball game? What are you going there for? He says, there's no guys in the audience except me. They love me. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
I always say, why blend in when you can stand out?
That had good saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of my absolute favorites.
that's one of your better sayings.
Yeah, I have many sayings, few of which are very good.
I have been named responsible for many things and ran quickly from it when I heard.
All right. I don't know what that means.
Just trying to keep up to you.
That's all good.
My. All right, so here we are now, once again, in Savannah, where the scene is really lively. It's a good comedy scene. A lot of people involved in it, a lot of shows. Monday, there's a show every Monday, show every Tuesday. There's 2 shows every Wednesday.
2.
There's 1 show guaranteed on Thursday at the Bean.
Yep.
Right?
Yep,
There's one
that's the
at
guaranteed.
Foxy
Yep.
At Friday, the third Friday every month. And, excuse me, then they have at the Wormhole, they have mostly out-of-towners come in, but they do have some. Then they have special shows like they did
Absolutely.
the beer place the other night.
Mhm.
Which one?
Well, there was 2. It was funny. This last weekend, Friday night, it was
Was
Southern
in
Barrel
Bluffton,
over in
right, yeah,
Bluffton,
in Bluffton,
and then
yeah.
the very next night, night of the Living Laughs, there at Southbound Brewery. That's
right,
what it is.
what I'm saying.
Southbound.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it just has caught on way more than we even thought it would be. I mean, it's like a spark was lit and boom.
And it's always, I don't know what it is about pairing up comedy with breweries, but that place is always packed. Who would imagine that? People like drinking beer and laughing.
No.
But no, it's great. I always go out for them, and it was a great night.
And that's, so because of your friend Ryan, it's expanded to Bluffton.
Right. Well, I think he just did that because he was sick to death of driving to Savannah all the time to do comedy because he lives over there.
Once again, a good venue, though.
Oh, it's a
I
great
like it
venue.
there.
I
think
can't
it's a
tell
good
you
venue,
how
yeah.
attentive and nice those audiences are.
I think when they moved it outside, it made all the difference in the world.
Well, you've got this huge area.
Well, it's not just that.
It's nice.
Let's think. Everyone's sitting at the bar facing a row of televisions.
Sure.
Then you have the tables, the booths,
Yep.
and half of them are not facing you.
Right.
It just wasn't ideal. But when they put it outside, everyone's facing you. It just changed the dynamic.
It worked out great, and I know the audience there is one of the best audiences because we had a first-timer the other night. He had never done comedy before, and the first joke he told is about how he accidentally stole a handicapped parking spot, and they were nice enough not only to laugh but to applaud when he was done. And I was like, wow, you like the guy who's not good at this and steals handicapped spots. You are the best audience I've definitely ever been in front of.
And they're cheering him for that?
He managed to make it funny. He managed to make it funny.
conspirator.
Well, because he made him,
I get it.
he made himself the butt of the joke. He was
Right,
smart
I
enough
get
to
it.
do that, because
No,
clearly
it was.
he was.
I had been there 2 weeks earlier than that, and it made all the difference in the world bringing it outside. And that's funny, a little change like that. You remember when Chuck's down on River Street, they moved the bar
Yeah.
from, when you walk in on the right to kind of in the middle, left, middle, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So these little changes made a difference. It made it easier and better for the customers to watch it.
And yeah, that show at Chuck's I love because it feels like a comedy club. It feels like the place was almost set up for it now with the way it's set up.
That's right,
And it
you're
feels right. It feels like you should be performing on that stage. And they got a spotlight now. They've hooked up this whole system with the stoplight. I don't know if you've seen that
I
yet.
saw the
Oh my
stoplight,
god,
yeah.
so useful.
I'll probably be there Tuesday. I just
it's-
haven't been feeling great. I've been, out of it, but
Yeah.
I don't want to get a bunch of get well cards, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Well, I won't send you one then.
Thank you. What's a stamp?
I actually just sent a letter to Australia the other day. So
With a stamp?
yeah, with a global
How
stamp.
much was it? $1.50 or something?
I don't know. The pen pal provided me the stamps to start me off. I got a pen pal in Australia
Oh,
now.
good for you.
Yeah, she's actually she's an author, and she writes she writes comedic stuff. She just came out with a book. I can't actually say the name on here because it has a swear word in the title of it, but it was all based around her recent
Please
divorce.
Don't. I've never heard swear words. I want to get to the end of my life without hearing them.
But we met when she was vacationing. She was here in Savannah. She saw me at Chuck's, and we struck up a conversation, and we made good friends with these. But it was her and her other friend. Yeah, I've got a friend I write on the exact other side of the globe. I know because when it's 7:00 here, it's 7 a.m. there. So that's the nice thing.
Oh, wow.
She's on the wrong side, the western side near Perth.
And she must have gone to Club One because Travis is from Australia. Who was that now? An American citizen a few years ago. You know Travis Cole?
Yeah, I know. He is.
Yeah, so I mean, usually they hook up with him because he has some connection with these tours coming.
So is that what it is? Because I always see large groups of specifically Australian travelers doing karaoke in there.
Right.
And I've come to the opinion that the Australian accent is so specific that it can't overcome most karaoke songs. But they've got Australians I've found have a very unique way of dealing with this. They all just sing together. So they overcome the accent with being loud.
Tie me kangaroo down, mate. Tie me kangaroo down.
Crikey.
There were a few. There was a few Australians. Was it Rolf? R-O-L-F-E. It wasn't Ralph. It was Rolf.
Rolf.
And My Boomerang Won't Come Back was an Australian. So seriously,
You need a new boomerang.
These were big hits. Anyway, Lonnie Donegan. That was it. Lonnie Donegan. He was an actor, comedian in Australia. I'm going back to the 60s, pal. Early 60s.
Wow.
Late 50s. So, yeah. It was Canadian. Not Canadian, Australian. Yeah, and one of the good guys in Savannah, Travis Coles.
Mm-hmm.
I've acted with him in plays up at the theater there. And
well, that's actually the first time I remember seeing you is in a production of Shel Silverstein's adult plays.
Oh, was I the
at
construction
Club One?
worker?
You were I said to myself, either this guy is playing this construction worker as so Boston, and he's killing it because he actually has a Southern accent, or that guy's from where I think he's from. And I was happy to find out that you matched that. You were just doing you the entire time as a construction
I
worker.
to make it New York.
Yeah, it was a little different.
New York.
It was a little different, but
what the hell? What's going on here? What do you mean? What are you doing?
well, that whole thing was it was basically a monologue. There was another guy up on stage. I don't remember him saying a word.
One word.
One
word. Yeah. And then I had another skit where I only said one word.
But I remember the construction
I
worker one
remember.
because you were so prominent in it, and I was so happy to find out that Shel Silverstein had a dirty mind for a children's author.
People are shocked if they just know his children's books.
Well, exactly. What a Renaissance man. I mean, he also wrote that Johnny Cash song, "Boy Named Sue."
I know.
He wrote that.
Yeah.
That a lot of people.
Did you ever hear him sing?
Yeah.
Shel Silverstein.
Shel
Shel
Silverstein?
Yeah.
No.
You hear him sing?
No.
You can pick up on YouTube, but him and Johnny Cash singing that song, him singing it solo.
Oh yeah.
What a voice! That's all I'll say. You're in for a treat. What a voice!
I'm excited now. You're giving me plenty of things to do when I'm done here, Bill. I gotta say.
Yeah, no, Shel's a man.
He used to write travel articles for Playboy magazine.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
I mean, if they're footing the bill, why not? Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
Travel Lisbon, write something up. Absolutely.
Shel Silverstein. That was a good thing. We had Melanie. No. One I was in with Melanie was the Reindeer Monologues, and that she wasn't in that one that we were doing.
Reindeer Monologues.
I think she was in this one too. I think she was in that one too. Now think about it.
I think so.
Yes, she was. I forget what the scene was. I think it was her and KT exchanging something in a store or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you're smiling like you know. Help me out.
It's been a long time. Like I said, literally, I saw the whole show, and like I said, you were the one that stuck in my head. And then I kept on seeing you around town, like you said, because I went to the film festival that year, and I said, "Oh, that's that guy that was in those things. I got to find out who that is." And you had a business card. I still have your business card.
It's
in my.
here.
It's in my car. It's never gonna leave until I sell the thing.
That's the old one then.
Yeah, with your headshot. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. It's time to get a new one, but I wait like every other year. I don't just take them 3 times a year. No. 1 a year, and not me. 1 every other year. So I'll get it in January. So for the whole year it says, and I always have on it photo taken 2016, photo taken 2000, whenever. So that's good for the whole year. If you do it in January,
right?
Then even in December, a photo was taken this year, so they know it's an accurate. It's a close to accurate.
You don't feel like you're pigeonholed by all the student films. You're not playing the same parts every time. You get a lot of variety.
I played a psychologist. I played a bum on the street. I played. You just can't name a part I didn't play.
That's great.
A yokel, a train station guy that ran a train. I mean, just. Name it.
Well, that was the thing when I was going there for the film. It was really hard to cast a diverse crowd of actors. We basically leaned.
Call in September.
And
remember that? Do you remember that?
We leaned so hard the rest of the year on dorm mates. Just getting whoever you could.
I know.
At a moment's notice.
That's why most of the SCAD films have people that just their age in it.
Right.
But when they got someone like me who loved doing it, and it was great experience because I had stage experience, and now I was getting film experience.
Yeah.
And I was enthusiastic, and as I say, I always say to the director, "This is how I see this part. You tell me if you don't like it. It's your film, not mine. If you want me to change, you tell me what you have to do." And that's I always do it, and it makes me very, very good friends with the directors because they love that. I mean, I'm not there to fight them or to tell them. They wrote it mostly, and they know what they want.
Well, I think you're in the unique place of being an actor without much ego, which is very rare, I think, in that profession. I think to be able to get up in front of the people in the first place, you got to have something. You got to have some sort of sense of self, and being able to strip yourself of it and apply something else, almost like a saltwater tattoo. Slap on something new.
I think it's it was people that cheer for themselves, like sports today. If you score a touchdown or if you hit a home run, you stand there, drop the bat, and look at it. It repulses me. It just does, because I remember when I played sports. You would be taken out of a game if you ever showed anyone on another team up. You would sit down so long you'd think you were growing into the bench. And today it's accepted in cheered behavior when it's just terrible. It's unsportsmanlike. It's just not good.
I'm personally my own worst critic, and I find that works really well for me if I'm really tough on myself. But that usually leads to people genuinely complimenting me, and me. I'm not good at taking compliments because I'm my own worst critic. So I have trouble with that. But I had a friend who told me that my podcast was so good he didn't know why other people weren't listening to it, which is a very funny thing to work as a compliment. Yeah. But he, said the production value, this, that, and the other thing. And I said, I agree. I also don't know why more people aren't listening to it.
Okay, so talk about your podcast. That's it.
Okay, so it's I am one of the co-hosts of the podcast. It's the Wicked Podcast, spelled like Wikipedia, WIKID. Another comedian, Ryan Easterbrooks, you mentioned him earlier. He runs that Bluffton show. He had the idea for it quite a few years ago, actually, and had a false start with it because he had a co-host that just didn't work out. But it stemmed from insomnia. He was up late at night. He couldn't sleep, so he would end up on the internet clicking through Wikipedia articles. When you're on one, it's easy to find a link from this to that. And so he'd cover 20, 30 pages in one night and said, well, why don't... This is so much information I'm taking in. You could make 1 million shows about this, and you'd never repeat the same subject twice. There's over 4 million articles now on Wikipedia. 4.5 million. 4.5 million on Wikipedia. So basically, we start on the homepage. We have listeners send us in their favorite subject, something they want to hear us talk about. We put them in a little bucket, draw them at random, and then based on whatever's on the homepage of Wikipedia that day, we've got to click through. No searching. No cheating. We've got to click from subject to subject to get to that subject. And sometimes we get there in 2, 3, 4. Sometimes it'll take 13, 14 clicks just to get to a certain subject. And it really, I guess, depends on how much we know about it. But we joke along the way. And,
You don't have to know anything about something to joke about it.
No, absolutely nothing at all. And the nice thing is Wikipedia is such a broad base that, you know, you can jump around and usually find something you do know something about at one point.
Right, absolutely. My wife says, you know a little about everything. Thank you, Dave.
Technical support.
And I do. I don't know why. I've always been interested, kind of like the useless information, trivia stuff. So I've always been interested in useless information.
Cocktail facts.
And I retain a lot of it.
As do I.
Because it takes a long time to get something in my head, but it takes forever to get it out. So I guess that's why.
No, for years I've been a big fan of barroom trivia just because of that thing. I'll be the guy who's useful maybe once a night, but I'll know very specific, very useless knowledge. I'm a huge fan of useless knowledge just because if you don't have something to talk about with someone, say a fact they'll never hear anywhere else, and the whole conversation starts up again.
Yeah, and it's interesting. That's why there's trivia nights. It's interesting. Chris Davison does the trivia nights.
Well, and honestly, I can't tell you. We just started the second season. I can't tell you how much I've learned in a little over a year. It's going to be a year next week that we've been doing the podcast.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much, and I'm so happy. I need to start going back to bar trivia because I feel like I'm going to be a lot better at it. I'm actually going to, instead of paying for the beer, they're going to be paying for me to drink the beer.
I'll give you, if you have a trivia team, here's a clue. Get someone from each decade on it. Because you know how they do in the trivia. It's stuff you never heard of, stuff
Right.
I never heard of.
Right.
But between us,
The crux for me was always having the sports guy. The sports guy is such a necessary part of any trivia team.
You need someone from Boston for that because they'll tell you which shoe he ties first in the dugout. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I swear, I've been to trivia nights where it's 40% just sports questions, where if it was just me, I would be getting a D at best, even if I answered all the rest of them correct.
I loved sports when I was a kid, but then I get away from it. I'll watch it. I'm interested. The only thing I really like to watch now is the Patriots. Because I suffered through them when they were terrible. I earned my merit badge suffering through them when they were terrible.
You dealt with them at their worst, so you deserve them at their best. Yeah, absolutely.
Call them cheetahs. I don't care. I call them leopards.
I almost lost a friend because I made a joke online one time about Tom Brady and deflated balls and something like that.
Yeah.
So he wrote me a message, said, "We're done for now. Disconnected on the Facebook."
Oh man, that's terrible. That is awful.
Well,
that really is.
I'm too big that I won't hold a grudge. I value a friend over an opinion every day.
Oh no, you shouldn't do that.
But I printed out, I think it was a Gucci ad. I think it was a Gucci or Armani ad with Tom Brady in a nice suit. And I made a greeting card out of it. It's him on the front, and then it opened, and it just said, "Tom Brady above reproach. Your good friend, Brendan." And
wow.
Then the next time I was home, he sought me out. We hugged it out.
Up. That is a new level.
He loves football. I could care less. So I knew it wasn't important to me, but I knew it was important to him.
You know what I mean? I will say what I want. I will knock Tom Brady. I will knock him, and because, once again, no one's perfect. You don't have to look too far to see that. Some of the ones that have fallen from grace. So no one's perfect. We put them up on a pedestal. And then when we see a crack in the pedestal, we can't believe it. Well, we put them up there.
If you're that rich, you're going to have people taking shots at you anyways.
I know. Anyway, as I say, he did it. I wish he admitted it. I feel better about supporting him, but he didn't. And that's the way it is. I mean, that's today. If you can blame someone else and get away with it, well, I guess that's the policy.
It was
sad, but...
it was so popular when it happened, I don't pay attention to sports, and I knew it happened. So
anyway,
there you
during
go.
my cousin. She my cousin? Yeah, I guess she's my cousin. He's a lot younger than me, but still my cousin. When I put on the Facebook page, I don't know about if you people noticed, but when the eclipse they had there, the solar eclipse about a month ago.
Yeah.
Did you notice when the moon went over Foxborough, it looked a little deflated? Oh, she was mad at me for that. She went, hardy ha ha.
Yeah, the eclipse.
Come on, it's a joke.
Right.
And a good one, too. Even though I'm a Patriots fan, love him. Tom Brady fan, love him. But, that doesn't mean I can't joke about him.
We got one of our best episodes of our podcast from that eclipse because supposedly the Lizard Man of South Carolina was supposed to appear during the eclipse.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if you've ever read about that.
I heard something about him.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. It's absolute craziness. And the best part is the Wikipedia article on it. It's expansive. You can read all about every single person who's ever seen him, their name, their mother-in-law, and everything. And
now, did they ever correct that deal where people can change things on Wikipedia? So, are you sure it's a fact? I mean, I remember that was one of the problems when they first.
So that's
got going.
interesting. I actually did just read an article about because now it's so staunchly peer reviewed that every single change goes through multiple layers of screening. It goes to a person before it actually goes live. Yeah, it no longer goes live. I remember the days when I could just change something about Lassie, and it was a fact for at least 20 hours or so.
Wow.
But yeah, you can't get away with that anymore. They actually did Merriam-Webster versus Wikipedia. They compared the two, and for every entry in Merriam-Webster, there was 2 to 3 either falsities or half-truths, and on Wikipedia there was 3 to 4. So that if it's almost as good as Merriam-Webster, that's good enough for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and actually, no one's alive that lived in history, so how do we know? It was written, as they say, by the winners.
Yeah.
So how do we know what really happened?
Or the ones who are still around. Yeah. That's the nice thing about it, Record
I
history
mean,
as it happens. You'll get it more accurate.
You like to think it's accurate, as accurate as can be. You really do. I mean, I don't want to.
I mean, it's better than
put
me
a
just
fact
spouting
in
out.
my head and then find out 40 years later. No, that never happened. That's a waste of my head.
Ah, but it happens all the time.
Wasting my head. Yes. All the time.
I believe it. Yeah,
I could have been a champion. I could have been a contender.
Sure, Bill. Just keep telling yourself
I could
that.
have been a contender. I know, just a bum, washed up.
You need to put walnuts in your cheeks for that one.
No, that was later. He didn't do that then. That was when he was young.
I know, yeah.
I could have been somebody. I could have been a contender.
I like the later stuff. I don't know why. I like the guy who's clearly a curmudgeon.
An offer he can't refuse. Hmm?
Something about seeing a golden star in decline. I don't know why I like that so much, but I do.
And you ever go, oh my, whoa, that's so-and-so? Well, yeah, you saw them when they were on TV 40 years ago.
People get older. Imagine that.
Yeah, isn't that too bad? And I like the ones that don't fight it.
Who lean in.
The Botox and, come on, stop it.
Yeah.
It just works against you. If I know you're 65 and your face is tighter than a drum cover, you don't look natural.
Well, plus,
I'm sorry, you don't look.
How much acting are you doing if you can't move your face?
And it's not just actresses that are doing that. I'm just saying,
no.
What are you doing to yourself? Nature's usually right. Let her do what she wants to.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I've been jealous of people my age who already have gray hairs. It makes them look distinguished, and I've got
Yeah.
I like it.
Hate that gray, wash it away. And my son said, as you gave me all these, my youngest son, all these gray hairs, you got to thank me. They're the only ones you got left. Bratnick. All right, we're getting close to the end here. What do we got here? Yeah, that's about the end. Let's call it the end. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. This is Bill Cooper. The name of the show is Savannah at Night. And I have been very fortunate to have a good person with me tonight, Bendan Townend. And anyone who's been with me before, that doesn't mean you weren't good people. I'm just saying he really is a good guy. I like Brendan. Brendan, thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Bill, I thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, and we are WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org.